Welcome to Women at Halftime podcast, but not just for women, for you men too. If you're at mid-career or the halftime of life, our inspirational topics are not only fun, but also meant to help you maximize and write your next chapter. Right here with me, Deborah Johnson. Well, hello. I'm so excited to be here because we have a wonderful guest today, and I can't even wait to introduce you to the very energetic Sandy Joy Weston. And I'm going to let her introduce a little bit more about herself because she is so full of energy. And that'll be a lot of fun. But before that, just to make sure that you are checking out all of our things that we have going on to Hero Mountain Summit. You can get there, heromountainsummit.com. We only open that up to individuals twice a year. It's also available now for companies and groups. So you want to be able to check that out and get the weekly articles, because an article comes out today, just about this sort of this week, about Sandy and about some of the things we've talked about today. I read an article about the subject. And then, of course, there's a lot of her links in there as well. So you want to make sure you get on that list, goalsforyourlife.com/newsletter. So Sandy, thank you for being here. It is so fun to have you and your beautiful smile. And I love your hair, by the way. It's just great. And I got to know you a little bit as we were in a speaking course together. And Sandy is just one of the most fun people you will ever meet in your whole life. You have a huge background in fitness and, of course, started fitness clubs and all of that going on. But I'm going to let you let our audience know a little bit about you, some of your background, because you have a huge background in different areas and you have a lot to say today. So why don't you go right ahead, Sandy?
Wait a minute, Deborah. I just got done interviewing you very much. Now I got to do a switcheroo. Anyway.
That's right. That's right. It's all about you today, Sandy.
Okay. All right. Well, if you insist.
Yes, if I insist.
And we did have fun in the heroic public speaking. That was fun.
That was really fun. And I just remember, Sandy is such fun because she would show up, I think, with a different pairs of shoes every day or something, like something funky. Something was always just it was so much fun. I'm wondering, okay, how did you have room to pack all those? But you lived closer than I had to fly across the country. Yeah, I had to fly across the country. I could not drive there. So you could bring more. So anyway, yeah, but we had a great time. So yeah. So let's hear a little bit more about, I know, isn't it hard to talk about yourself sometimes, but but you've had these fitness programs and you've opened gyms and you've had your own podcast going and all of that. Yeah. So just tell a little bit about that and why you love it and why you are, you're just so much fun.
It's all about fun. I have to have fun. I really believe we miss out when we're not childlike a lot of times, acting like a kid and being afraid of being judged because you're an adult. I go, forget that. I'm all about having fun. So yes, I've been in the health and fitness industry my entire life. And Deborah, I was very, very fortunate because I did not plan it. I was dancing my entire life, thought dancing was my way out of where I grew up in the projects. And I was very, very fortunate to get a scholarship to college. I went to Montclair College right near New York City because, of course, I wanted to be on Broadway. Why not? Right?
Of course.
And when I realized I sucked compared to the other girls, I was solid in my small town, but oh my God, I had to have plan B. And so plan B took me from Montclair College in New Jersey to Westchester, Pennsylvania, and their dance was in the health and phys ed program. That's where they put it. So now my eyes were open to the human body and how movement was expressed. Well, I had to do an internship, and the internship involved me teaching dance classes in a fitness studio. Now, imagine this. Back then, they were very straightforward and sports oriented. And here I come in with my dance moves to the fitness classes, which were new to the aerobic scene. And they were like, what is going on here? But what ended up happening was magical. We combined sports conditioning with dance, and voila, we had all these fun programs. I had so much fun. It opened so many doors to me of not just being able to teach dance, which I thought, open a dance studio, little kids dance. But now this was this whole other world. And every time I taught a class, Deborah, I was there, just like keynote speaking, I was there to serve them. I wasn't up there not that I didn't like looking at myself in the mirror going, oh, how do I look today? But it really was about who's in the room. And I'm there to entertain, because I had to entertain to make these classes not boring, but also make sure that I was reaching at least 75% of the class, in the room. And because I made it about them, I met the most terrific people, and those terrific people put me on the map. Because at the time, there were no in-home trainers. There were trainers at the time in California. I mean, there were some trainers in California, but back then there were no in-home trainers or private trainers in the gym. So when the who's who, because the club was in wealthier areas that I was working in, like, you should come to my home and train me. I was like, okay, you think that's necessary? But okay. And one person started my whole business, and it exploded. That not only was I teaching these classes, but now I was doing one-on-one trainings. And that exploded, that I actually ended up hiring 15 people to work for me, because everybody wanted in-home training and I was only one person. From that, because again, I made the sessions about them, and no matter who they were, I wasn't trying to get something out of them. I wasn't trying to manipulate them to open a door. I was just there to get the most for them. They wanted to help me more. And they really appreciated that I wasn't trying to manipulate them to get something else, because they were the who's who, the CEOs, the CFOs, the sports team owners. And those people then took me under their wing. I had so many mentors that wanted to help me out in business. And that is how I started my first health club. Like, Sandy, you should open up a health club. So here I am, grateful to get out of the projects, beyond grateful to go to college. And now I have my own business, which grows into another business. And then I realized I better get my master's in exercise physiology, because I was getting more complicated cases. And every time, Deborah, I didn't plan it. I just showed up wanting to serve them in the best of my ability. And every day reminded myself to tap into peace, love, and joy, and then go from there. So when everybody says, well, what's the secret sauce? What's the magic? I've mentored so many kids. I said, every single day, whether I was waitressing, pumping gas, it didn't matter, teaching a class, I wanted to shine bright so that all could see and that they would benefit. That was my secret sauce to my success.
That is so cool. I mean, and a couple things that you were grateful. And I think that is really missing for a lot of people right now, that grateful spirit of, there's a lot of entitlement going on. Oh, well, the world owes me something, or I need to find something special. You just say, I'm going to show up and it's going to be about them. I'm just so grateful to be here. That is such a great attitude. And that probably was innate quite a bit from your background, I can imagine, because you were so grateful just to get out of a situation you were in.
Yes.
And we hear some of those stories and you think, oh, you didn't have anything growing up, but it has caused them to excel even more because of that attitude of that gratefulness, and to be able to push on to what you're doing. And you ended up doing some things on, cable and TV and all sorts of things too. You've had all of that. You can read your bio. I'll put a link to that in the article. There's plenty of that. But I love the main points that you've brought out here. And I like to focus on those more because we've all been around a lot of people that have a bio a mile long, but what are you doing now? And where did you really come from? And what did you learn from that? And so that's what we're kind of covering a little bit today too. And you talk about don't make a big hairy deal about things. And you're such a vivacious personality. And people say, okay, so how do you get all that energy? Or how do you, does anything bother you? And so and you say, yes, and yes, of course. But you say it only takes 1 to 3 minutes a day. So what do you mean about that? Because you've kind of switched gears a little bit from just, I don't know if you still own a place. We haven't gotten into all of those sort of details, but you've really focused now on your speaking and on writing and to be able, because you've made that little transition, like a lot of us have, of this point in our lives that we are ready for the next step. So what do you mean about all of that?
Okay. Well, let's start with first, don't make a big hairy deal of things.
Right.
We all do. It just depends to what degree. Our brains are very sneaky. I don't care how positive you are, how much you journal, how much you meditate. Those thoughts creep in there. And before you know it, you think they're reality. The only thing that I'm going for, which is what I go for myself, I don't want to get stuck there so long. So because I have systems in place that work for me, I just jump out of them quicker. I'm like, whoa, what's going on today, brain? Not today, Greg. Let's stop it and let's reset. So I know there's a few questions that we're going to talk about later, but I want to bring them up now because I think it's really, really important because you mentioned the 1 to 3 minutes a day and my background. So when you grow up like me, it could go one of two ways, right? You feel you just can't get out of it. And I totally understand why it's really, really difficult. Many, many friends who I love never really got out of that situation. And I understand. I feel blessed every single day that I was able to tune in and tap into something bigger than me to get out of there. And I don't take it lightly. I feel that's why I'm so, so grateful. But when you stay in, which I understand that you don't know what I've been through, victim mode, you can't get out. Forget that we could justify it because I could sit here and you'd say, holy moly, you have every right to be like pissed off, angry, whatever. But I'm always about now what? What's the outcome I want? The fact that I was able to see it is such a blessing because some people can't get out of it. And I get it. It's not that easy. I always felt since a little kid that I'm not going to feel that way. And I'm going to tune in to my higher power, which I made up a name, Neil, for God, which is another long story, but to guide me to see how can I shine bright for myself and others. I'm not complicated, Deborah. I'm a very simple person. I like things to be simple so that you can repeat them every single day. I don't think it has to be complicated or difficult. It's just this consistency. What do you do every day that only takes a few minutes? And that's based on something I didn't know I was even doing. So as a kid, here I am growing up in the projects. Also, my mom spent 50% of her life in mental institutions, which was not the well-funded ones. But when she was home, it was even worse. So I had to drown out all that stuff going on. And I did 3 things every day. I had no idea these 3 things were going to save my life and change my world. But every single day, I would move. So I put on a favorite jam or sing inside my head, even for a minute, and I would move just to get my body moving to music. It made me feel good. Then, which I still do this to today, I would think of one word. Now, I started this as young as I can remember. I'd say, how do I want to feel today? How do I want to show up? Is it powerful, peaceful, joyful, fun? And I would think of that one word and I would close my eyes and dance around, whatever it was, joy, fun, ease, and flow. And then I would ask myself, what can I do right now to make it even feel more of that? It could be call a friend, write in my journal, blast some music louder, get out of the house. Like, what can I do to feel more of that? And movement, words, and then laughter, I always made light of things. So even when things were horrible, for good or bad, I would make light. When mom was throwing things, I'd say to my brother, Doc, and that's going to be really good for your pitching arm. I found a way to lighten the mood. You know, even when I go to the mental institutions, I used to tap dance because not only did it make them feel better, but it made me feel better. So those three things, which my friends, I didn't even realize years later go, that's my wonderful life system. I've been doing since I can remember 9 years old. I didn't think of it that way. I wasn't like, oh, this is my one. I just thought this makes me feel better. I don't need to know the science behind it. I didn't need to justify it. I just knew I could tap into it and I could escape. And then when I was in that mode, I would visualize what I wanted to do and where I wanted to accomplish. Every day I've been doing that since I'm 9. So you can imagine, here I am. I still do that. I teach it. I talk, like, I didn't know that's what was going on. I swear I didn't know movement, words, and laughter until 2 years ago. This was just my life. And this is how I train people. I didn't even think of it that way. But like every hour I get up a minute and dance. I check into my word. I ask myself, am I really coming from power? So that's why it's easier for me to shift out of when I get angry, upset, or to recognize, wait a minute. I'm coming from, like today in the car, I was driving my son back to school. He's like, Mom, you're stressing me out. I'm like, wait a minute. I am. He can feel my energy. I'm anxious, but I shift out of it quicker. And I go, all right, mayday, mayday. And I say to him, you little shit, you're right. I am. Because you say you're not, but I can feel your energy, which is making me anxious. So then I go, all right, how can I come from, what's my word for today? Well, that wasn't coming from love. And so that's my system of the 1 to 3 minutes a day, but also not making a big, hairy deal of things. Because in my mind, it's scientifically proven you can't be coming from joy and fear at the same time. And where do you want to stay? And what's the outcome you want? I hope that answers your question.
It really does. I think there's such a mindset behind that first. There's a discipline behind it. You've put a system together now that's become a habit. So you can easily go back to that, but there's a choice. You could choose, whether to go back. And this is where a lot of people get stuck. They want to stay where they're at. They want to stay stuck. They want to stay angry. They want to stay a victim. They want to stay depressed instead of doing something that will help them get out. And I believe that, your first step there with movement, it got the body moving.
Yep.
And I'm hoping that helps a lot of listeners, because moving the body helps to move the mind. I really believe, because that's all connected together. And just stand up, just get outside, just do something different, and let your mind just sort of relax. And isn't it amazing how kids can call us out on all these things? They can tell. I tell you,
I taught them well.
It's just, you're really amazing how that is. And, it's a journey. Life is a journey, and you feel, it's all the way through here. We got a marathon here, so we are keeping going on this. But I love it that you started very young as well, and figured as much that out. And also that you got over yourself when you went to the institution with where your mom was, and all of that. You weren't thinking, oh, well, let's see, I wonder if I've got the right moves. I wonder if I've got the right look. It didn't matter there. And that was nice. It was a safe place there, but also that you could be really you, and it helped you emotionally. Yeah. But it really helped I am sure it helped a lot of other people. It took their focus off themselves.
Yeah.
So that is a great story. And I love to highlight that of how important those little habits are. It's become such a habit. And our
You
kids.
know, I always say when people go, "Oh, you're so giving," I go, no, wait a minute. I'm selfish. I want to be joyful. I want to feel love. I want to have fun. And in order to do that, it's got to be give, receive. So if I stay, which I do get it because I've been doing it for so long. You know, they say the devil you know versus the devil you don't. When you're in that mode, it does, people don't like change. The brain doesn't like change. You really have to buck that system because it's like, wait a minute, we're safe here, even though it's not serving you well and you're miserable. And sometimes you do want to feel, we all do have pity parties. We all do feel sorry for ourselves. It's just a matter of how long do you want to stay in that? And it's not getting you where you want to go, you know? And I like feeling more pure joy, but I do get it out. So I quickly, when I'm angry, I'm upset, whatever, I say what's on my mind so I can move through it. I don't want to store it in my body. So I get it out and then I clear it up. And that's why I love, like, it's not just joy. I call it pure joy because it's a different feeling. It's a total, I'm not faking it.
Yeah. And there's a difference that I have said for years. There's a difference between just happiness and joy. Joy, it flows from within. It's bubbles over. It's just different. You know, people can say, okay, here's 10 steps to happiness and how you do all, you know, but true joy, to bring true joy, it's really actually kind of a spiritual experience as well. But you have
Absolutely.
to, you know, you have that, it comes from the soul. So, and when you start feeling that, that's what you desire. You want to be able to have that throughout your day. And it just helps so much because everybody's going to have their issues and problems and everything it's just life. This is life, you know, we're talking about. So, so you've kind of described your wonderful life. I love that name too. It always reminds me of the Christmas movie of It's a Wonderful Life. I always think of, I couldn't get that one out. Christmas movie. It's a Wonderful Life, but it's that's a wonderful system there. And I'm a strong believer in systems to free up our life anyway. You know, I've never called myself an organized person, but boy, the more systems I put into place, it frees me up. And
absolutely.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. So, and you've touched on this too, how you start every day, because you start every day, you know, with that movement and you've got all of 3 of those little steps. I'm thinking that's what you do, but you do a lot of journaling as well.
Yeah.
And talk about that a little bit, because I'm a strong believer in journaling, and it doesn't have to be long. But you've got a little journal out as well. You've done some books, how do you approach and helping other people through that process? Because a lot of people go, oh, you know, I've tried that before. Oh, it takes time, or I never know what to say. And so how do you approach journaling?
Okay. Well, first of all, just let's even back up. Like you said, how do you start your day? It is a little different. Every morning before my feet, and I tell people, if you do nothing else, before my feet hit the ground, I take some deep breaths in and I ask myself for guidance, but how I want to show up today. And just one word. So let's really, for this show, stay with people that don't have a system in place. Everything I'm teaching you takes a minute to 3 minutes. That's it. And I'll tell you why. So every day before my feet hit the ground, 30 seconds, that's all. How do you want to show up today? And I think of the word. Then I come downstairs and I write my word in my journal anywhere. So I can reflect on it. So that one word is, if it's powerful, I take a few breaths in, I write it down, and then every hour I do a check-in. I go, am I coming from power? And it helps me reset myself before I go into the meeting, do an interview, email, difficult conversation. And that's why, because I'm checking myself every hour, I'm like, wait a minute, I wasn't coming from power. That's not power. And now what can I do? Go outside, move around. Everything is not complicated. Go outside, take a deep breath in, pet my dog, pet my cat. That's so important. The next step is I do really, really believe in journaling. And you're right. I've written books on it, Train Your Head and Body to Follow, because they're all connected. And it's all about getting people into that positive, powerful mindset to serve them well. And I want to tell you a little story why I did this. So I owned health clubs for over 30 years. I sold them in 2019. I got a great offer right before COVID. I did not know about COVID, but it was perfect.
Yes, yes. Another thing to be very grateful for.
Oh my God, always looking out for me. But when I owned the health club and trained client, people would always say to me, Sandy, why are all your clients always get results? Every single one. They always get results. And I said, well, I can interview you and within 5 minutes know if you're ready to be ready. And then that got to me thinking, I loved all my clients. I loved every single one of them, all different walks of life. And I realized that everyone that I was gravitated to, no matter what they did, exuded joy. I mean, not all the time, but you wanted to be around these people.
Right.
So I thought, wow, these people can get there. They can tap into that pure joy no matter what's going on in the world and get back to what they really want. Is there something about them? So I took a year and interviewed and studied about 100 people because I bribed them with memberships and trainings of my club. Can I study you? You enjoy pure joy. Can I ask you questions? Blah, blah, blah. And at the end of, it was almost a year, there was no pattern. I couldn't see anything. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And then my assistant said, Sandy, here it is. Here it is. I'm like, what is it? It's like, there's something they all do. It was right in front of my eyes. I couldn't see it. Every single one of them did something every morning to get in that positive, powerful mindset. It didn't matter if it took a minute and some were 2 hours, but every single one of them did something before they entered the world, whether it was working out, meditating, playing music, baking muffins, yes, journaling, but it wasn't making lists. They did something that worked for them, and then they entered the world. So I thought, well, then I will create a journal to help people get in that positive, powerful mindset who don't have those routines every morning. And then they will tap into more pure joy. So I spent another few years, I gathered what I called the powers to be, but what were highly intellectual people to put validity to what I already knew to be true. So I had neuroscientists, positive psychologists, exercise physiologists, gurus, nutritionists, and would meet at my downtown club. And we put out and created this journal with their help that took 5 minutes a day. And it failed. I had the most motivated people. And I said, put one of the 3 areas that you need to work on. So what if they already had money, career in place, then don't work on it. Then go to love, relationships, or body health. They didn't do it. So basically, they weren't convinced that would make a difference. Even though I said, just give me 5 minutes for 30 days, I promise you it's going to make a huge difference. So we went back to the drawing board. I met with some of my professors. And one guy said to me, well, of course they're not going to do it. I go, what do you mean? Sandy, no one's going to do anything that doesn't take a minute to 3 minutes unless it's already in their belief system. So you need to create a journal that's only 1 to 3 minutes a day, and then they'll do it. Because whether they believe you or not, they're willing to take that time. A minute here, a minute there. Then once you get them, they may add on. And that's where the 1 to 3 minutes came in. And I created it. It was a success. And so I've built books and journals if I get in life somebody just to think how they're going to show up, which is my keynote, life doesn't happen to you, you happen to life. I'm good, Deborah. That's what I'm all about. And then here's the deal. I didn't even realize it until 2 years ago. I wrote these books. I did all this. I'm sitting in the keynote. I didn't even realize that was movement, words, and laughter all these years. I didn't realize that was taking me 1 minute to 3 minutes. Is that whacked? until I was writing my keynote speech. And actually, it was Stacy Fretz from our group said, you've been doing this. I'm like, I have been? You're movement, words, and laughter. What I'm going to call my wonderful life system. I'm like, what? Isn't that weird? I didn't come up with it. I didn't even know I was doing it my whole life.
Isn't that great though? Isn't that fun? Sometimes it does. I mean, this is why relationships are so important. It's a mirror all of a sudden, and we can't see it in ourselves. We can't see what's sticky. I mean, I wrote my last book because of what was sticky in that same course with a roundabout, because it was like people got it. It was like, oh, when I got this Hero Mountain Summit, and it's a wonderful course, but what is it about? Well, it's getting out of your roundabout. It's getting out of being stuck going round and round and round. And you get, it really helped. All of a sudden you find things that are sticky. And so this was a whole system then that you were able to define, and then be able to help others even more, because then it's more understandable. There's a system in place. And the 1 to 3 minutes, I tell you, people are so busy right now, but they're scared anything takes any time. There's another book, The Artist's Way, because I come from the artist background.
Oh, I love that book.
It's a great book. But I tell you what, journaling pages, who has time to journal? I mean, a lot of artists will journal pages, okay? But I'm not at the point in my life where I'm going to do that anymore. If I get a couple sentences out, this is good. But it's a habit. And if you can do that one more, I love the one word as well, because it helps you focus your journal. Because sometimes you wonder, what do I write? What do I even put down? Well, if you focus on a word and then you're able to come back to it, that's, and I just.
And it has prompts. There's a game plan, your power statement. I mean, It literally is checking off and prompting you. So it's a guided journal. Yeah, there's space for you to write in. If you want to go for more, have at it.
Right.
But this is for the people that are very productive usually, but they're spinning, like you said, they're spinning their wheels a bit. And this helps them to go, wait a minute, this is what I want to focus on. This is what I want to do. It just reminds them.
Yeah. I think that's just so great. And sometimes these projects just come out of that because you see what the real need is and you see what's working, and then you get the interaction from other people, and that's just so much fun. So now when you talk about movement, and for all of us, because some people are thinking, because we just did our little interview and I told you I work out early in the morning. I like to get it out of the way personally, but I do move a lot because I do walks and I do other things. I'm always moving, but how much movement really is enough, or what? And can you explain maybe some of your basics of that you do? Because, at this point in our life too, as we gracefully grow older, we, stretching and all of those sort of things, that's a very important part of our routine. So how do you approach movement and what the basics are for people? Maybe they don't have a home gym. Maybe they don't go to a gym. Maybe they're just what to do. What's the first step if they're not moving at all, hardly?
Well, Deborah, I was going to say, I don't know if my program is the graceful program.
I can imagine. I could just imagine.
Like, I'm a Boston Wall type person. Like, I still mountain bike, even though I stood in.
That's great,
But that being said, what I really, really want to get across today is that any movement is amazing. I know they say just move, just do it. But here's the deal. If you have no program, even if you got up and danced around and did a dance reset or move, I don't care, do calisthenics for a minute every hour, that matters. Like, I'm talking if you don't already have your program. Getting up, the everyday thing, parking further away. It does matter when you go to the store. Like, I take the further spot. I purposely have my washer and dryer in my basement because I have to go up and down the store. So everyday life, just moving is amazing because you can get stuck hunched over at your computer, and just reminding yourself to get up, dance around. It's going to make you feel better mentally and physically. Now, Yes, I would love if you did more and moved every day for an hour or 5 days a week, because you would feel incredible and awesome. But I know that small things can make a huge difference. So let's say you don't want to go to the gym. Let's say you don't have any equipment. Here's a program you can do anywhere. And again, could only take 1 to 3 minutes a day. And you probably should go online just to make sure you're doing it right. And there's tons of tutorials on YouTube. Here's what you do. You do a squat, even just squatting down to your chair. Like, make sure you have good, you don't have to put weights in your hands, just squat up and down, no weight. And there's plenty of ways to show how you should squat as a 30, 40, 50-year-old, 60-year-old male or female, just a light little squat. If you don't feel comfortable squatting, then just, do a side to side stance, like arms overhead, not even jumping jacks, but just standing on to the side lightly. And again, you can go online to see how to do that. Just do that 45 seconds to a minute. All right, squat. Then go down. You don't have to do it military. They're so good for your body. Do push-ups on your knees. Put your hands in a comfortable position. Go full range. Again, 45 seconds to a minute. Not long, because now you got your lower body. Squats are great for your metabolism. Get it speeding up. Go down, do some push-ups, flip over, and do an abdominal exercise. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, again, that you don't feel it in your low back. 45 seconds to a minute. Stand up. That's one cycle. That's all you did, right? So that was 3 basic things that really doesn't involve cardio. But let's say you wanted to add the cardio. Now, instead of just doing the squat, you do a minute, you dance around, or like I said, light jumping jacks for a minute. Now, calm your heart rate down, do your squat, do your push-up, do your abs. Okay, now that takes 4 minutes. Do 1 cycle. You have time? Do 2, do 3. Do 1 cycle in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. No weights, no equipment. I just gave you a workout you can do in the freaking bathroom, practically. Well, maybe. You don't need much room. So I'm trying to eliminate, I don't have time and I don't have equipment. No excuse. I promise you, if you just get up and move for 45 seconds a minute every hour throughout your day, as much as possible, and you did that 4-minute routine, again, make sure you're doing your squat right. You don't have to go all the way down. You do no pain, no gain, baloney. You don't want to hurt your knees. You can lean on a chair. There's a million ways. It's a simple workout, but it makes a huge difference. You see, I'm getting all the major body parts. 4-minute cycle, 1 minute cardio, squat, push-ups, abs, come up, do it again or don't. If your main thing is just do 4 minutes that day, holler, I'm happy. That's it.
That is so great because, everybody's life is rushed and, and some people have a harder time getting up. And as I mentioned, even in our little interview, I put my clothes out the night before to work out. So, I have no excuse. Those are the clothes that are in the bathroom. And I get those on, send my body, send the body. But it really helps just to get it moving and get up and have that sort of mindset, because it really helps, create the tone really for the rest of the day. And it's a huge, huge thing to be able to do that. And even if you move very slow or you get up later or whatever, it's put the shoes out, at least put something out. So it will help you, to move. There's a little book called Tiny Habits, and that's in there too, of just saying, little tiny, it's a great book. I've interviewed her as well.
I know people that start with their routine and now they do have a full exercise routine because they chose it. They don't feel like I have to, they love it. They saw the benefits and the benefits outweigh the downside. By the way, you can do push-ups against the wall. You don't even have to get down on your knees. You can do a squat holding on to, a table. We're not talking, full out, blown out. I just want to get them moving.
I've reviewed some books like on chair yoga and all of those are just, they're easy on the body. You can travel with all of that. And you usually travel. Greg and I just did one on some exercise of just, we bring bands with us when we exercise, and We just did a bike riding trip, which is we biked almost 200 miles. It was great. We did have electric assist. I do admit that. It was wonderful. We were in Tuscany. There's a lot of hills in Tuscany. But it was great. It was just so much fun. But yeah, having the bands or having the little massage ball, everything that's so easy to pack in your suitcase. Yeah. It just made it, so much better. Even though you're doing other exercise, you've got to be able to stretch and do other things. So that's great advice. Anywhere you are, and if you're traveling or whatever you're doing, it's just a great word of advice, to keep the body moving. And it's especially all the way through life. Does not matter what sort of age you are or stage you are. You could be a young mom, and all of that. I started when I was a younger mom. Anyway, this let's kind of wind up a little bit of this, because you talked about, your higher power and all of this, and is there a certain amount of time that you feel that you need to meditate every day? And what is meditation consist of with you? I mean, part of that is probably your journaling process. I do some scriptural reading. And so, but what is your system that you have that really helps you mentally focus on, puts life in perspective, with this whole game of life that we have?
So meditation is so different for so many people.
Yes, you're right.
The thing that I want to make very clear, it's not the same. It doesn't have to be the same for you. And it doesn't, again, have to be time consuming. I do have clients and friends that meditate every morning for a long period of time, and it's phenomenal. But it doesn't have to be that way. It's just like everything else, just like movement and journaling. Find your way. For me, again, I don't spend a long time in meditation, but I do. When I say my higher power, which I named Neil from a funny story, because my friend thought I was talking to God and I was trying to get Neil upstairs, quiet down. So he came in, he goes, "What are you doing? Now God has a name, Neil." I go, "What are you talking about?"
That's funny.
To stop playing his music so loud.
That's
and
funny.
Since that, now God's Neil. But to me, it's that universal love that I tap into when I take time to not tune out my thoughts, but be aware of my thoughts. Like I listen, I take time to see where I'm at, what's going on, and I go, it's okay. And I don't judge them. And then what we talked about before, shift out of that. What can I do? Like, it's okay that I'm angry, I'm sad. What do I need to do right now? It may be movement. It may be journaling. I might combine them. My best meditations for me is while I am bike riding. It doesn't have to be you're sitting still looking at a candle. I mean, that's one way. But for me, when I'm out biking, and sometimes I sit under a tree and I talk to trees, that's my way of communicating and tapping into love, peace, and joy, which I believe innately is in all of us. So it's not having the TV on, not, listening to a guided meditation, but there are a million guided meditations that are great, and they work. There's so many ways to do it. If you want guided meditations, that's great. For me, sometimes I will use that when I fall asleep at now. But again, in the morning, when I start writing in my journal, the first thing I do is I just say, okay, where am I at? And I ask for guidance. Guide me on today. How can I serve others? How can I tap into peace, joy, and love? That's my meditation. I meditate at the gas pump. It's not, it's not the same thing. I meditate in the middle when I'm waiting for, the line to move in the grocery store. So it's just different for me. And you should find your way. Because I know for years people say, that's not meditation if you're moving. And I used to say, are you sure? Why can't I move and meditate? Who said so? And you got to do you.
Right. And that's been a big part of your message today, of just, who you are, your individual and that whole thing. So, well, Boy, what a great time. This time goes by so fast. How can people contact you and just learn a little bit more about you? I will put your links, of course, in the article, but I want you to tell people, if they're just listening to the podcast or whatever, of how to contact you, learn a little bit more about your systems, about your journal, and everything in the books that you've got too.
Sure. So my website is my name, Sandy Joy Weston, WSTON.com. All my social media, Sandy Joy Weston. Everything is on Sandy Joy Weston. They can find me. If you go to my website, you will see links to my speaking gig. So it'll say speaking page. So you can contact me if you're interested in me speaking. As far as my books, they're at all local bookstores and Amazon. So they can find it there. But
Perfect.
if whatever you're interested in, you're going to find it on my website. Cool.
That is so great. I mean, it's like the middle hub of everything are all of our websites. So it gives a place, and the ownership is ours. We can, social media is a little different, but we can definitely, and of course, this will be all produced, and people can watch the video, which I hope they do, because they would see how cute you are with your, your whole look with your hair and everything. I just love it. It's just very energetic. But also the podcast. So thank you so much for being with us today, and a wonderful guest, such fun. And what's one thing you want to leave everybody with, if they were just to get one thing out of today?
They are way more powerful than they realize. They're just scratching the surface. Every single person has so much power. Just tap into it for a minute every day. I promise you, it'll be unbelievable what you come up with.
That is wonderful. There are so many, especially women, but men too. Just, they've got such a lack of confidence. And, remember how we have amazing bodies. We have so much, especially in this country. And thank you for telling your story. It was just fascinating. And just for being with us today, Sandy, this was a pleasure. And for everyone, thank you for listening. Make sure, again, that you're getting the article that'll go with this, goalsforyourlife.com/newsletter. You can you sign up for it anywhere, too, on our websites, Deborah Johnson Speaker, goalsforyourlife.com, DJ Works Music. Everybody loves the music. But just to make sure that you are able to access everything and all the articles and the links, too. So thanks again, everyone, for being with us. And I look forward to being with you again next time. So bye-bye for now.
Doodles.
Thank you for joining us. It is because of our wonderful listeners like you that we keep going strong week after week. We'd love it if you'd share and follow us to not miss a single show, and even write a review. You can also find all of our articles, products, and links at womenathalftime.com.